Meilin Fisher is an amazing support as she provides your whole team with broken buffs and also healing, but with the addition of 3 brand new gear sets, there's a lot of different ways for you to build her now, which asks the question, how can you best build Meilin Fisher? Well, let me show you. So let's start off with all of her best artifact sets, and there's a lot of different ones you can use, with the first one being the Burning Blessing gear set, and this is one of the brand new ones, and this requires you to have 8 gear pieces in order to get the maximum effect, with that effect basically being whenever you tag out or use a support skill with the character that has this 8 set gear set, you'll be able to increase the next person's damage by 20% and also recover their HP by 0.2% every second for 20 seconds, and then you can apply this every 25 seconds. And essentially the reason why this gear set will be one of the best gear sets for her, potentially the best, is essentially because this gear set you can actually get at level 78, which is the highest level gears you can get in the game, and all that essentially means is that you'll be able to get better main stats as well as also sub stats on these gear pieces. The next gear set you could use if you want to as well is the Destroyer gear set, as you can charge her power gauge by 50% at the start of battle and also increase your whole team's ultimate charge rate by an additional 20%. The one hit kill gear set can actually surprisingly be used on her, as she also does have ultimate skill cooldown reduction within her exclusive weapon, as well as this 4 set effect being a ultimate skill cooldown reduction of 40%. So when you stack her weapon cooldown reduction and the gear set cooldown reduction, it means you'll be able to get your ultimate really fast. However, it does mean that you do then need to bring someone that can charge your ultimate very quickly, which is very difficult to do. So I wouldn't really recommend this gear set as much. But then we also have Noble Sacrifice, which is amazing because it'll increase her HP by 8%, and because she's a HP scaler, it means she'll heal more and also do more damage. And then you can also decrease your own attack by 8% to then increase your whole team's attack by 8%, which is a pretty good trade-off. And then for accessory sets, if you are going to try and opt for the Burning Blessing gear set, which I know a lot of you won't be because it's going to be very difficult for you to obtain, then just keep in mind that you will have to completely fill out your accessory slots with the Burning Blessing set. And then the only other accessory set I would recommend is going to be Outstanding Connection, as you can get a 28% attack increase to the next person that comes in after Meilin Fisher. So if you pair that with just any DPS character in the game that scales off of attack, then this will be by far the best gear set for her. So then moving on, let's talk about all of her best stats for these pieces. And starting off with main stats, we have a helmet, which you'll want additional HP or HP percent. For the body armor, as well as also the gloves, you'll always get defense and also attack, so no need to worry about that. And then for the boots, you could either go for something like HP percent or healing given increase. However, for me personally, I think HP percent is way better because it makes herself tankier because she has more HP. It gives her more damage and also more healing as well at the same time. For accessories, you have a necklace, which gives additional HP. You have the bracelet, which you'll want water damage percent, as she is off the water attribute. For the ring, you'll want HP percent or additional HP for the same reasons as mentioned before with the helmet and also the boots. And then the earrings will always give you additional mana points. And then for substats for all these pieces, it's pretty self-explanatory to be honest, as you'll always want things like additional HP and HP percent, and then also healing given increase to increase the healing that she does because she is a healer. And then also some other pretty good stats you can get for her is defense percent, because she can also buff defense with her ultimate, I believe. And then also mana point cost reduction to then reduce the mana points that your skills will actually cost you. And all of those stats will apply to both her main artifacts as well as accessories, and are definitely the ones you want to look out for the most. So then moving on, we have all of her best weapons, and Hook, Line and Sinker is always going to be her best weapon, as it is her actual exclusive weapon, which you can get up to 2 copies, potentially 3 copies for free, depending on how much you summon for her. But the passive of this is actually relatively interesting, as basically whenever the user uses Side Whip, which is her core attack I believe, you'll be able to increase the damage of the team member with the highest attack stat by 1% for 12 seconds, and also for each time Meilin Fisher's HP increases by 2000. And I think this is worded in a bit of a weird way, because essentially what I think it means is basically for every 2000 HP that you do have with Meilin Fisher, you'll be able to get that 1% damage increase. And then because you have a max damage increase rate of 6%, I think it does mean you'll need around 12,000 HP in order to get the maximum 6% damage increase for every time that you do use Side Whip. And then as mentioned before, in all the best artifacts, the decreased ultimate skill cooldown of 5% can be pretty useful with Meilin Fisher. However, it will only be really useful when you do have her at max dupes, as you can change that ultimate skill cooldown reduction from 5% all the way to 20%, and you can also increase the max damage increase rate from 6% to 16% as well, which is also pretty cool. So then unfortunately there's not really many other good HP scaling, or at least free to play weapons in the game, as you only really have Ancient Grimoire as the only other option, as it does increase your power gauge acquisition rate by 12%. And then for some reason, if you're really struggling for weapons, the steel staff will then be your next best bet. However, because the game literally does give you free copies of her exclusive weapon, then you shouldn't have to worry too much about free-to-play options, and you should always be able to get her exclusive weapon. On to skill level priority, and because she's a support slash healer character, whatever you want to call it, it does mean that her skill level priority is a lot different to any other character in the game, as essentially just like a character like Min Byung-gu, for example, like his main role is just to buff your entire team, and that's pretty much it. And Meilin plays a very similar role, if not just the exact same kind of role, as pretty much whenever you do level up her skills, whether it be at level 1 or even at level 10, it doesn't actually change the stat increases that things like her pumped up buff from her ultimate actually give, so it doesn't really make them that useful. And even when it comes to like her first basic skill, Rear Lash, which does also heal, even when you level up the skill to however high you possibly can, it doesn't increase the amount of healing that it does, which means pretty much the only benefits that she does get from leveling up her skills is actually just a damage increase. And because that's not her job, it doesn't really, it kind of means it's just not really anywhere near as useful as it would be for any other character to level up certain skills. However, things like her ultimate skill, which is called Big Meow, I know, very weird name, but either way, this skill is probably going to be one of your better skills to level up just because it does have the highest percentage multiplier in her kit, being 874%, going all the way to 1300%. And then you also have a second basic skill, which is Up, which can go from 475% all the way up to 712%. And then the final skill I'd probably recommend that you actually somewhat care about is going to be her core attack, which is Side Whip, as it is a kind of a pretty core part of her kit. So then as we head towards the end of this guide video, we also got to talk about her best teams and also synergies. And the best character that she does synergize with will always be Alicia Blanche, as because a lot of Alicia's kit is based around getting her core attack Frost Arrow to do a bunch of damage, and then because Meilin can actually buff core attack damage through things like her pumped up buff, which is her ultimate buff, as well as also the fact that she can increase water damage that enemies do take as well. It really does make Alicia the perfect and the best pairing for Meilin. And then for other characters that you could use to synergize with, you could also use a character like Min Byung-gu if you would like to. However, I'd only recommend you do this if you don't have to deal break damage to the boss that you're fighting, as the main reason you would want to use Min Byung-gu is just to simply just become an ultimate battery, as his QTE skill Divine Punishment will increase all team members' power gauges by 50%, so then you can also press his ultimate Heavenly Blessing to stack crit stats on your main DPS, which in this case would be Alicia. So essentially the purpose of this team is just to absolutely giga buff your main DPS to then make them as strong as possible. And then if you're looking to take out the Cerberus, someone like Seo paired with Meilin and also Alicia is going to be a fantastic combo, as she does offer a ton of break damage thanks to both of her basic skills being very spammable. And because she does spam both of her basic skills, it does mean she also gets her core attack quite quickly, which means she can benefit from the core attack damage increase that Meilin Fisher does actually give. And then if you don't have someone like Min Byung-gu to support with ultimate charge being sort of like a battery, then you could use Park Hee-jin instead, as with Park Hee-jin's third dupe you can charge your whole team's power gauge by 10% every time you use one of these skills listed here. And also because she's a mage, she's more centered around doing quite a bit of damage as well, which means she can also support you with damage. And the same also applies to Libora, as Libora can also support you with damage, but also with her charm debuff, which increases the damage that enemies will take by 15%, as well as I believe the ability to cleanse debuffs as well, which is pretty cool. And then finally, to end off this section, we do have all of her best shadows, and with the brand new addition of Tusk, he is definitely by far going to be the best Shadow Authority leader you're going to want for any team to deal with Meilin Fisher pretty much, or at least most of the time anyways, as Tusk's Shadow Authority is pretty damn cool because you can increase all team members' core attack damage by 30%, depending, obviously this will depend on what kind of rank you do have him at, and then obviously because characters like Alicia do want to do a lot of core attack damage, this percentage increase would be very useful. And then finally for the next shadow I probably would recommend is going to be Iron, as a lot of teams to do with Meilin Fisher and Alicia don't really have defense shredding, which is what Iron can do. But also once you get Iron, so I believe then it's the Knight rank, I believe, you can also apply a shield to all shadows as well, which is going to give them super armor, which will be amazing. And then the final shadow that I'd personally would recommend would be Igris, as Igris does support with a lot of single target damage through his ability to bleed, and also that his skill Blade Axle can essentially just double his attack stat, which is pretty insane. And the reason why this is also pretty damn good is Tusk can also buff the attack stat of all of your shadows by 20% thanks to his basic skill Concentrated Heat. So there you have it. Meilin Fisher is a pretty interesting character. I quite like her. She seems pretty fun for a supportive based character, as I do like how she does support Alicia with her core attack damage and stuff like that. I do think it's really cool. And if you did enjoy this video or you found it just useful in general, then don't forget to like and subscribe, as it does help a ton, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.